Tonight, again, with welcoming all of you, I would ask that you would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. And now, for tonight's prayer, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Mike Freezer.
Our national motto is "In God We Trust." And we, Lycoming County Patriots, use that as our amen at the end of the prayer. So the prayer is real short, which is one. May this evening be anointed with love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. In God we trust.
Amen. Wow, nice.
Many thanks, Mike. And once again, please, everyone, if you would please silence your phones, turn them off, or mute them for the balance of tonight's debate. It would be much appreciated. And now, for additional information and opening statements. Kathy Burns.
No worries about that. I'm just asking you all, please, this is a very important evening, not only for the gentleman up front here, but each and every one of you, because this is a part of our lives that's so important as what's going to happen in our county here. So please be courteous. Please do not have conversations amongst yourselves. It's very distracting, and it's just not courteous. So please, if you got something to say, tap the person you want to talk to and take them outside, okay? If you would kindly do that. The cell phones, we already mentioned that. Please silence your phones. I'm guilty. A lot of times, please silence your phones. We will have the refreshments at the 7:15 break. And our moderator, who will be introduced in a second here, he is going to be asking the questions. And we're not going to be taking questions direct from the audience. However, if the gentleman wants to stay after and speak with you folks, by all means, stay on. So that's my part there. Here you go. Karen? Again, thank you all for coming. Our moderator tonight is Mr. Sam Faddis. We are really fortunate to have Sam here. He's a retired CIA operations officer, a former United States Army officer, and a former criminal trial attorney.
That was cute.
She knows I'm the big mouth in the family. She stopped at criminal and scared the hell out of me.
At least I'm a former criminal.
She told me I was forcing her to do that. She is the person that gets this whole agenda together every meeting, so I think she deserves it. Sam is currently he's a published author of the book entitled The CIA War in Kurdistan. So that is available, I'm assuming, Amazon, where we get,
Absolutely.
Anywhere, yeah, okay. It's called The CIA War in Kurdistan. His last name is spelled F-A-D-D-I-S, by the way. He is senior editor of AND magazine. It's www.andmagazine.com. Leader of Unite PA and president of the Pennsylvania Patriot Coalition, which I will tell you, if they have another event like they did last year, we are going to make it so well known to you folks up here not to miss that event, and hopefully there's one coming soon. National security commentator and appears regularly on television and radio. Sam has traveled all over the world, sometimes under adverse conditions. And I'm going to say this from my heart and from all of us up here. We are fortunate to have him here tonight. And we're lucky. We caught him before he was on vacation, I understand. Is that right? So let's give him another hand, Mr. Sam Faddis.
And with tonight's introduction of the candidates, I'd like to bring up and introduce Mr. Tom Schick, our election committee chair.
Thank you, Rick. Good evening, everybody. Once again, on behalf of the rest of the board, thank you for attending tonight.
I want to thank these gentlemen for attending, taking time out of their busy schedule. We're 8 days out, 7.5 days out from the election. Nobody will debate this is the most important election. This eclipses the general election in November. So we need to keep that in mind and pass that on to the folks that are not here tonight. The other thing is, as you know, as many of you may not know, the Lycoming County Patriots are a non-partisan group of individuals. Okay? We don't espouse one party over another. What we seek is the truth and the fact. End of the day, that's the way it is. As a board of directors, we reached out to the Democratic Party, the Democratic Committee of Lycoming County, and offered them an invitation to attend tonight's venue. We did not receive a response. We felt that was important. We wanted you to know that. So without any further ado, the four gentlemen that you have in front of you tonight represents potential for the future of governance in Lycoming County. With us from my far right is Commissioner Scott Metzger, currently the incumbent. Seated to his left is Mr. Evan Payton. To Evan's left is from Woolsack Township Board of Supervisors, candidate Mark Sorton. And last but not least, on my immediate right is Mr. Adam Welteroth. Gentlemen, again, on behalf of the Board of Directors, the general membership of the Lycoming County Patriots, and the citizens of Lycoming County, we want to thank you very much for taking this time to make yourselves known to us, the issues that present to us as the pressing issues of the day, and wish you all continued success. Thank you.
And with tonight's rules for the debate, once again, an introduction to Mr. Sam Faddis.
Gentlemen, good evening. So I'm going to read the rules of debate as they have been provided to me. First, each candidate will have 3 minutes for their opening statement. We'll move into that as soon as we're done with the rules. I am going to then move to questions. Each one of you will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. And there are a total of 11 questions for this evening. I will rotate the order in which we move through those questions. So each candidate will respond to every question, and we'll go in order so that we don't have the same person leading off the lineup every time. You will have 2 minutes to respond to each question I pose. There will be an opportunity for rebuttal, but we're going to hold rebuttal to the end of all questions. So if you have a rebuttal, I will read before I ask the question the number of the question, and you may want to make notes to yourself if you've got something you want to rebut at the end. So when we're all done with 11 questions and all 4 candidates have responded to each question, we will have 1 minute each for rebuttal, and then we will move to your closing statements, which, as with the opening statement, will be 3 minutes. Clear? Any questions on any of that? Okay. We're ready to move to openings. Oh, let me add this. At the end of the time, when you're 15 seconds from the end of your time period, there will be an audible knocking sound from this. That's not a threat. That's that you got 15 seconds to wrap it up. And then I'm told that after that, when we actually hit the 3 minute mark, there will be some sort of electronic tone that will emanate from the same location. Nobody's going to cut you off in the middle of a sentence. It's not silliness, but I would ask that you try to respect that time period because we got 4 people and we got 11 questions, so we got a lot of ground to cover. And obviously, we don't want to, we want everybody to have a level playing questions. So with that, let's begin with Mr. Metzger, your opening statement.
Good evening. For the first time in recent memory, we have 2 incumbents retiring after 20 years of service. It is important that we have experience and leadership in those seats. I come to you this evening with over 3 decades of business and county government experience, the last 3.5 years as the chairman of the Lycoming County Commissioners. Over that span, we maneuvered through a pandemic, a recession, and shortage of employees. During the pandemic, I stood with small businesses against the governor, mandatory lockdowns, and wrote the letter that my two colleagues signed, pleading to open our business for our county, which was successful. And I voted to provide assistance to 350 businesses and 43 nonprofits that were devastated by the pandemic. In my first term, I focused on public safety, taxes, and job creation, and I voted for funding to assist local law enforcement countywide and for all volunteer fire services throughout the county. Taxes were not raised in my term. Lastly, the Timber Run Industrial Park on Route 15 is now being developed as jobs have been created with the promising signs and more to be developed. We will be voting on an LOI for another manufacturer for development on that site in the near future. Jobs have been created in other parts of the county, such as West Pharmaceutical expansion with our assistance. I was elected to get things accomplished, and that's exactly what we are doing at this time. It's critical in the next 4 years that we continue that journey together as we still focus on the levee recertification, small stream flooding legislation, the completion of the long overdue corners building, the housing initiative program started this year for housing development, continued infrastructure projects including our bridges and broadband expansion, the relocation of children and youth and mental health, which by us relocating and ending the Sherwell building lease has saved $772,000 per year. The future sale of the Executive Plaza, the opioid settlement, and increased mental health funding, and the workforce development to bring people to our beautiful valley. These are all projects that I'm currently working on. In regards to the labor shortage, we are experiencing that nationwide. We've addressed that with policies that have not been updated since June 24th, 1999. We're addressing and tackling the compensation issue, which is being overhauled the first time since 1988. We provide additional compensation in the amount of $1.2 million in the past year while lowering employees' deductibles and opening a new wellness center, all while staying within our budget. These adjustments have been made to remain competitive in today's market. I have the business and government experience to lead with confidence and stability. I walked the walk for the past 35 years. I ask tonight, as we talk about fiscal responsibility and conservative values, I live within a budget, and I'm not raising taxes is my priority. I look forward to the dialogue we will share this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. Mr. Payne.
Good evening. First and foremost, I just thank the Lycoming County Patriots for putting this on tonight, giving us the opportunity and platform to speak on some of the issues that we face on county level. I'd like to start off by saying during my time campaigning these last few months, I was consistently asked several of the same questions. First one being, how old are you? Which was always followed up with a question of experience. I do not shy away from the question of experience, for it is my generation that is going to be tasked with the rebuilding and improving of previous generations' politics and policies. At a local level, it is also our responsibility to tackle the consistent issues of this county's continued downward trend of economy and population. During my time working as a golf professional in this county, I directly oversee the day-to-day operations. My planning, budgeting, and forecasting, in part, have led to the profit, turnaround, and success of White Deer Golf Course. Strategies I plan to take to a county level. I've heard what the people of this county value and what they expect from their local government. Issues involving taxes and public safety and other concerns about jobs and funding have all been topics of discussion in my pro shop. A second, but equally as popular question I get asked is what made you want to run for county commissioner? The job of commissioner is exactly that, a job. It is not a popularity contest or a social club. It is a job, and it should be treated as such. The office of commissioner should not be viewed as an ivory tower only providing service to a select few. Now, my answer to the second question is simple. It's the opportunity, if elected, to represent the people of Lycoming County equally and the platform to take actions on all of the aforementioned topics. Transparency with the residents of this county and refusal to educate oneself on matters pertaining to this county is lacking in the current administration. Promises are made in exchange for a vote, not kept by our elected officials. I do not entertain the idea of governing from a state of seclusion and separation, and will always propose keeping transparent dialogue with the people of this county.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. Mr. Schwartz.
The reason I made the decision to run for county commissioner is very simple. Conservative values for our community. The liberal candidates have inundated our school boards and our judgeships by running cross-party, and the voters don't know that they are not conservative. I can assure you that I'm the most conservative candidate running for commissioner. I have a proven track record of success at Wilside Township, where during my tenure I've been able to lower taxes twice. Each time we lowered 50% of the previous millage. With lower taxes, we were still able to add additional services such as a new recreation center, which we added several youth programs to, new pickleball courts, new dog parks, additional water park at our pool, and we've continued to maintain a very impressive fleet of equipment to maintain our community. During my time, we were also able to turn around our community pool from losing $20,000 to being a profitable part of our recreation department. We've been able to add additional features and needed repairs through budgeted tax dollars and donations. Lastly, we are a few stages away from connecting our residential R1 district community to the Riverwalk from our Short Park area. We find that's something that the next generation is going to want in our community. In doing this, is also created a safer pathway for our school students to walk by adding additional bridges to cross Mill Creek. Our pathway will have a bridge to span over East 3rd Street to also ensure safety of the residents and the people using the walkways. The majority of this project has been paid for in grants and donations, not taxpayers' money. Other items I'm proud to have initiated to save taxpayers was the solar panel project, where the taxpayers investment recouped in less than 7 years, and we have enjoyed the reduced energy for many years now. We also purchased our first electric vehicle for our zoning department. I know electric vehicles may not be something for everybody, but for your government that is not driving more than 350 miles a day, it's a major investment. We've got grant monies to pay for the car, and again, we have solar panels on the roof, so we eliminated any future expense of energy costs for those vehicles. We're the first community to work with private developers on water retention projects to give the township the needed points with DEP, which is an unfunded, sorry, I got my wrong, mandate of the MS4 water retention program. I'm on the finance committee for the township, and in this role, we developed the MS4 funding and started moving additional general fund monies annually to have a current balance of over $4 million. We don't know what this total cost is going to be, but we're doing this to ensure that we will never have a rain tax, as other communities do. I was instrumental with working with Chief Minner to create a SMART program, which we have for our safety of our community, where we entered an agreement with South Wayne Sport Fire Department. It shows I have the ability to create regionalization. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Swartman. Mr. Welter.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm glad you guys could all make it here. I'm really excited for this debate. A lot of you already know who I am and what I'm about. I'm on the Waynesboro School Board. I've dealt with a lot of ups and downs, but tonight I really want to take the opportunity to cover the whisper campaign that's been going on about me for about the last 2 to 3 months. So who am I? Yes, I am a law enforcement officer. I derive my arrest powers from Act 235 and the agency I work with. I've been disgusted to hear that people have been saying that I'm not, but I am, believe it. What you should not believe, I am not a millionaire. Last year, working for the county, I made $49,000. And that's a single family income with my wife and my 2 children. I am not running on a ticket with anyone, my best friend or someone I recruited to run with me as county commissioner. I'm doing it all by myself. I am the answer to the rhetoric question and request from the old garden establishment Republicans that have asked for our next generation of Republican leaders to step up and carry the torch forward with conservative family values. I have the most experience out of anyone running for county commissioner up here tonight with overseeing the management of 450 plus employees and overseeing the management of a $100 million plus budget. I have never put money in lawyers' pockets through contract arbitrations. I make sure that our contracts get done and they're the cheapest that we can do it. I am the only one who's ever stood up to the DOJ with their meddling in our local government, telling us how we're going to run and how we're going to behave. They have no business doing it, and they need to stay out, and I'm not afraid to say that. No matter whether they threaten me with penalty and fines that personally went to me as a politician, not as the elected politician. I have no other job that I'm going to work. I do not own a business. I will be a full-time county commissioner. I am not running for the next logical progression in my political career. I am not running to pay homage to my ego. I am not running to establish a government health and retirement package for myself. I am running for the betterment of all families in Lycoming County, not just my own. I am one of the faces of the new Republican leadership that everyone has been asking for, that represent us with family values, economic growth, and a can-do attitude. The time for spin is coming to an end, everyone. And it's time for us to be honest with the voters. I look forward to starting that tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. A special bonus points to those of you who avoided the tone. That was particularly impressive. We're going to move on to the questions now, and I'm going to ask them again. We're going to start the first question, Mr. Metzger. You'll be the first one, and then we will, as I indicated before, we'll rotate the order in which we answer. Let me keep it fair to everybody else. You have 2 minutes to respond to each one of these questions. The first question: why do you believe you are qualified to be a Lycoming County Commissioner? What is the one thing you would do differently if you were to be elected, or I suppose in your case, re-elected?
Well, 4 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be elected as chairman of these commissioners. And I've been in the trenches. I worked in the county with our employees through a pandemic. Kept the county open, kept the county business open. We worked as a team. We developed a COVID co-ops team. We had our elected officials and departments come together and work together. I had the business experience. It's important to have the business experience. I had the supervisory experience. I supervised a staff of 27 employees prior to my retirement. And I worked under 9 boards of commissioners. I worked under 12 judges. And this is my 30th year of an 85-year-old business, a family business that I help manage with my sister and siblings. So I have the business experience. I have the government experience. 32 years in the county government, 3.5 as a commissioner. I've been in these trenches. We've dealt with a lot of issues over the past 3.5 years that none of us saw on the horizon when I took office. And I think we've got things accomplished, as I noted in my opening, and we're working on a lot more to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Payne, why do you believe you're qualified to be a Lycoming County Commissioner? And what's the one thing you would do differently if you were to be elected?
Well, like I mentioned in my opening statement, the successful business plans and budgeting that I put into place under my staff at Electric Golf Course has proven to be successful, with the course making profit now after years and years of potential closing. One thing that I would change is transparency with the people of this county. It's a very closed door, not welcoming office. And the people that vote are the people that put us in this office, so they have every right to know what we're doing with the tax dollars and what we have planned coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sortman, why do you believe you are qualified to be a Lycoming County Commissioner? And what's the one thing you would do differently if you were to be elected?
I think the biggest thing that qualifies me is the fact that I started at ground level local business or local government with Lowestoft Township. That's given me a ton of experience to learn government, the way government operates. I have 40 years of business experience that I've rolled together with that experience at Lowestoft Township to make Lowestoft a greater place to live than it was when I started there. What I would do differently is I think that one thing I see with the county is that you do have county employees that have the ability to do the job, and I would make sure that they were not micromanaged, that they had the ability to do their job and interact with the commissioners on a regular basis to make sure that the people that we're paying as taxpayers have the ability to do their job and do it well for us. And again, the biggest thing that makes me qualified is that I started at the bottom as a township supervisor to give me the ability and the strength to learn how government operates.
Thank you. Mr. Welteroff, why do you believe you are qualified to be a Lycoming County Commissioner? What's the one thing you would do differently if elected?
Well, experience matters. Tested and proven experience matters. It's easy to have leadership when you've had calm waters the entire time. But can you fight up against the storm? I have done that. I have shown that. I've seen poor decisions that have been made that have actually put my life in jeopardy at times. I've seen a reduction in manpower and a reduction in the ability to do my job because we didn't know what was going to go on with COVID. I found that to be completely unsuccessful, and I knew that I needed to step up and fight. I need to be the voice for my other coworkers. I need to be the voice for the taxpayers. You know, one thing that I would do differently is I don't think we fight enough. I was at National Day of Prayer ceremony the other day, and one of the preachers said about how you need to keep smiting the ground. Not once, not twice, but you need to smite the ground until you're successful. That's what I'm going to do. I'm a fighter. I'm going to come in the county office, and I'm going to fight from day one. And I'm not going to stop until I'm successful, because there's no quitting me. I'm not going to make excuses. All that energy is going to be put into getting it done. And I ask you guys to hold me accountable, just as well as I'll hold myself accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to question 2, and this time we'll start with you, Mr. Payne. As I am sure you all are aware, Title 42 that was put into place by President Trump to help keep illegal aliens from entering our country will expire on May 11th of this year when the emergency declaration ends. Illegals are being flown into Harrisburg, Allentown, and Scranton and are being dispersed throughout the state. What steps would you take as commissioner to keep these people that are illegally entering our country out of our county?
Well, we have a great resource in our county sheriff's office, and to be there to help them with whatever they may need in fighting that issue, and have good communication with Harrisburg and help them, help us tackle the issue at hand.
Mr. Swordman, do you want me to reread that entire question?
Yeah, you're fine.
Huh?
You're fine. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
You know, I'm not sure what all abilities the county commissioners have to stop illegal immigrants. I think it becomes a bigger problem than just the county. But as Mr. Payton said, I would definitely work with Mark Lusk. I have a good relationship with Mark already. I have a good relationship with our future district attorney, Tom Marino, that we will process these people and keep them out of our area. But I will definitely, I have the relationship with G.T. Thompson. Not a strong relationship with Dan Mooser, but those are the two guys that I would have to work with to stop this from even happening. And that's where I get on the phone with them on a regular basis to make sure our area is not inundated with illegal immigrants.
Mr. Welteroth.
You know, no one loves Lycoming County more than the actual residents do, the people that are running the businesses. Well, that does, you know, we need to be the watchdogs. I need to be the watchdog. You need to be the watchdog. You need to bring it to our attention. We just can't have announced visits that we're going to go check to make sure that everything's on the up and up. We need to make sure that we're always looking, we're always watching. That being said, though, we also need to encourage legal immigration into our community. So that's important too. But you can't just fight it at the federal level. You can't just even fight it at the state level. We need to take responsibility right here on the ground, because we're the only ones that truly care about this area right here, the people that are living here. So be aggressive, be a fighter. That's what I would do.
Mr. Metzger.
We had this issue last year. We received a phone call, and we immediately responded to it. Joe Ham, the mayor who's in the audience tonight, we went over to the federal prison, spoke to immigration, spoke to them about the rumors of them being in Jersey Shore. We met with some of the local businesses that day and the law enforcement up there, and found out that the individuals that were here had their working papers and were working in a factory nearby in neighboring county. We continue to monitor this. I am all for legal immigration. Come here the right way. We need people to fulfill jobs and fill them. But the ones that are going to come here illegally, and we receive information that they're here illegally, we're going to investigate that, and we're going to contact the immigration people at the ICE. We immediately reached out to ICE, Commissioner Sarr, myself, Commissioner Maravito. We went and spoke with them, along with other state and local officials. I've spoke several times that the fentanyl coming across the border. You think about that. 300 Americans a day. That's like putting 300 Americans on an airplane and crashing it every day. And yet the federal government does nothing to stop it. If an airline crashed every day, they would stop the airlines immediately and investigate. And I've preached this at our commissioner meetings, and we need to stand up and get something done. But as a commissioner, our authority is very limited when it comes to something like that. But if they're in our area illegally, we will investigate and we'll bring places to attention. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. I will move on now to question 3, and we'll start with you, Mr. Switman, this time. A state, county, or locality in the United States that has adopted laws or resolutions to prohibit or impede the enforcement of certain gun control measures perceived to violate the Second Amendment, such as high-capacity magazine bans, assault weapons bans, red flag laws, is considered a Second Amendment sanctuary. What is your position on making Lycoming County a Second Amendment sanctuary county?
I'm a little confused by the question.
You're saying they would allow people to have guns or take guns
So
away?
the definition, as I understand it, the question in this case, they're saying if Lycoming County was a Second Amendment sanctuary, it would be making a statement that it will not enforce gun control measures perceived to be in violation of the Second Amendment. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, so thank you.
Okay, that's okay. I had the advantage of reading it 5 times. So
I appreciate the clarification.
so I get to look smart. Okay.
No, I would definitely be against anything that would prohibit gun ownership. I know I've spoke several times with Ryan Gardner on that exact topic, and he has said as the current DA that he would not enforce anything that would stop gun ownership. I believe that our future DA is going to have the same role, and I would stand behind him, and I would, as a county commissioner, vote for any vote that would support our DA and not supporting the sanctuaries.
So, Mr. Welteroth, what's your position on making Lycoming County a Second Amendment sanctuary county?
I agree. I think it's important that we actually have guns in our community. I'm thankful to the gentleman right back there that's armed tonight. He's always here and he always makes sure that we're safe. Every time that we see a shooting transpires, a lot of times when they're stopped, how are they stopped? They're stopped by legal gun owners because they're there immediately to respond. As a law enforcement officer, I appreciate that. I appreciate knowing that I have the backup of the citizens that I serve and I protect. It is important that we never let that be infringed upon. And I'll tell you, I wish I didn't have the experience of being a student during a school shooting. I wish I never had that experience. But I also wish that our police had more training that was made available to them at that time. I'm proud that our leadership has taken the situation seriously, because what Williamsport Police did that day was very heroic. It was extremely heroic. And I think it's important that we get behind our police and we give them every tool possible to make sure that we are safe.
Mr. Metzger.
Lycoming County has passed a resolution to protect our guns. The commissioners did this at a board meeting over a year ago. It was brought to us by the district attorney, Ryan Gardner, and he asked us to pass it. All 3 commissioners agreed to pass that resolution. I believe very strongly in the Second Amendment. I feel that there's overreach by anytime there's a shooting, the left runs to blame the guns instead of blaming the individual, and that seems to be the narrative. I've talked to the sheriff in detail about it and DA in detail about this. Guns will be protected in Lycoming County. Thank you.
Mr. Payne, your position on making Lycoming County a Second Amendment sanctuary county?
Although Second Amendment shall not be infringed, and I think I agree with that very heavily. I'm an avid hunter myself, shooting sports. I own many rifles, handguns, and it's the citizens that own guns and can protect themselves in times when, especially in my township, where the police response time isn't the greatest. So having citizens around me that are armed should be and should stay that way, and I have plans on ever changing that.
Thank you. We'll move on now to question 4, and Mr. Welterup, we'll start with you this time. What, if any, plans or ideas do you have to protect family farms in Lycoming County and to increase farm ownership in Lycoming County?
It's important that we honor the heritage of actual farming. It's unfortunate that it's dying out. I'm mortified over the idea of China and other areas of our country are coming in and buying up our farmland. We need to make sure that we step up and we make sure that China doesn't come to Lycoming County and gobble up any of our property, our businesses, our farms, anything like that. Because I'll tell you, prosperity with our county comes from our farmlands. It really does. There's a rich history there. There's a rich history that we can teach our children. You know, it's an appreciation that we should have. Pennsylvania is a wonderful area, and I know even our county fair, it's a great event. I always enjoy taking my family to that. And if we don't step up and start fighting and start recognizing who our true enemies are and who are the people that are coming here to change our way of life, we're not going to have those nice luxuries like we have down in the county farm much longer, because there won't be anyone around to be able to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Metzger.
There's 3 groups of people that don't get thanked enough. Our veteran who protects our freedom, our law enforcement that I work closely with for 32 years as a probation agent and as a supervisor who protects us, and our farmer who feeds us. My great-grandfather was a farmer. Our farm still stands in Linden, and my cousins tend the farm. Well, we received $22 million in our ARPA funds. 3 commissioners said, we're going to make sure this money is spent generationally. $1 million of those dollars is going to our agriculture. We sat down with the conservation district. We sat down with local farmers. What can we do? We talked to them about a young farmer mentorship program. We just recently voted to approve a brand new pavilion to be built out at the livestock farm, so that educational programs can be taught out there to the farmers, 4-H, and all the young farmers and the farmers in our area. Farmers will never be ignored under my watch. They're part of my blood, and I could be very strongly in them. Thank you.
Mr. Payne.
No one in here needs to be reminded of how much farmland is in this county. It spans this county. It's beautiful. It should be protected. And a lot of land in this county that is unused and not developed should be offered to farmers as a potential purchasing site to expand their farms or start new ones. Farmers should be protected, their land should be protected, and again, no plans to infringe on that in the future.
Sure.
I would start by saying in Loyalside Township, we've worked with a conservative district which allows for some tax breaks for farmland in Loyalside. And we've worked with the owners of those farms for them to get set up that way so they can save some of the tax dollars. And one thing it does is it locks that farm in that it can never be sold off for anything but farmland. So I think that's a very positive situation for both the landowner and us as the local government. The other thing I would do personally is sit and meet with the farmers and say, you know, what else do you need from the county level that helps you stay financially secure and not sell your land off, because unfortunately to a lot of them, they're struggling, and if the big business comes along and offers big money for it, they don't have much choice but to sell. So we as a community needs to support them, and as a government official, I will work with them to make sure that they can stay financially profitable without having to sell off their land.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on now to question 5, and we're back to you, Mr. Metzger, to lead us off. Many county residents would prefer a return to paper ballots and a simpler, more transparent election system for the county, which would include the removal of machines and voter ID. What will you do to assure election integrity in Lycoming County moving forward?
This has been a hot topic under my term. I'm all for voter ID. We have election day, not election week. It's important that when you go to a poll, that you should be able to prove who you are when you vote. If you go to the conventions, the Republican Democrat convention, you have to have an ID to get in the door, but you don't need an ID to vote in our county or across the state or across the nation. That's wrong. The state, starts with the state. They passed legislation. It starts with Harrisburg. They passed legislation and put the machines in place. $2 million. Until we change those laws back, there's not much a county commissioner can do. I tried to get it on the ballot so that the voters could vote, could be threatened by the Department of Justice. We reached out to the solicitor, the state solicitor, and said, you guys will lose, no doubt about it. I'll come up there and defend you on anything. But Sunday night conversation with Joe Ham, myself, and this gentleman, at 9:45 on a Sunday night, he says, you guys will lose. So we had a motion to do a recount. We saw how the recount went. We want to make sure every voter is heard, but I'm not going to waste taxpayers' dollars in a lawsuit that we're going to lose. That's my responsibility. But I want to make sure every vote is heard, no matter who you are. That is our God-given right. And I'll make sure I protect that as commissioner.
Mr. Payne.
Yeah, voting rights are a fundamental standing stone of this country we're established on, and protecting that is just as important. Showing an ID should be required to vote. Integrity of elections should be withheld or withstanding, and
Mr. Sorkin.
The biggest thing with elections right now for us as Republicans is we're losing to the mail-in ballots that the Democrats are doing so well. I agree with Commissioner Metzger. We don't have a voting week, we have a voting day. And we got to get it converted back to that, but we also have to follow the rules of the mail-in and maybe take advantage ourselves as Republicans. But when it comes down to, a recount, I had a conversation with Mr. Bob Pryor sitting out here. If you recount the same fraudulent votes, you get the same fraudulent answer. So we got to go a little deeper. If we're going to look at this and say there is fraud, we got to go deeper into it. And I am 100% in favor of a voter ID. I question the fact that if I mailed my vote in, when I went to the voters' services to vote for myself, last time for Lowestoft Township, I asked those people, do you know if I mailed a vote in? Well, none of the ladies sitting at the table where I voted would have any idea if I mailed a vote in. So very easily 2 votes could be happening. So it's definitely, we got to look into it, but we got to do a little bit more of an audit. I think, again, Commissioner Metzger is correct. I wouldn't want to get into a lawsuit that we can't win, but you got to be able to do some sort of an audit that proves what the election outcome is. And I'll just make one final statement. We are 73% Republicans in Lycoming County. So if Lycoming County doesn't end up with 2 of the commissioner seats, there's fraud in the election.
Mr. Welch.
Just to clarify again, it was what can we do for election integrity in Lycoming County?
Many county residents would prefer a return to paper ballots and a simpler, more transparent election system for the county, which would include the removal of machines and voter ID. What will you do to assure election integrity in Lycoming County moving forward?
Clean up the voter rolls, absolutely. Mark's right with that. I will tell you, DOJ, who are they ran by? That's the Democrats, that's the federal government, that's down there in DC. That's them horning in on what we want to do and telling us the way that we're going to govern ourselves up here. I will fight the DOJ each and every time. I have once already, I did not lose. Loved it. You people know what you want. You told us what you wanted. It should just be that simple. It shouldn't take you guys getting motivated. It shouldn't take all the effort that you guys had to put forward. Sometimes spending your own dollars just to make sure that we listen to you. If paper ballots are what we need to go to, maybe that's what we need to go to. If we can sit down and have a compromise, maybe if it's 2 electronic machines, I don't know. But the important thing is that you are listened to and that we actually find creative solutions to answer the call and the mandate that you give us as elected officials. What that'll be like going down the road from here, I don't know, because I'm sure it'll ever be changing. But it's important that we stay fluid and we're able to address it to give you the confidence in your voting process again.
Thank you. We'll move on now to question 6, and we will start with you, Mr. Payne. Do you believe that a law firm with a member who is a state representative or state senator should be used as the solicitor for Lycoming County Board of Election? If not, why not?
Going back to my opening statement, transparency with the people is big on my platform. Being transparent, I don't think you should have somebody in a law firm be involved in county government and policy making. And that should be transparent, and it should be clear, and it shouldn't happen.
Mr. Swartz.
My answer is pretty simple, no, I do not agree with that. I don't think that should be allowed. It's a conflict of interest in my personal opinion.
Mr. Rothrock.
Goodness gracious, don't we have enough lawyers already? We can spread the love around to them a little bit.
Okay, now you have to be careful. The real skeleton in my closet is I'm also a lawyer. Forget the CIA thing. That's the real scheme. But to be honest, I agree.
So yes, it's a conflict of interest. We need to have more transparency with that and show that. It's the sneaky little backroom stuff that people try to skirt underneath us is what we need to be vigilant with.
Mr. Metzger.
Could you read the question again?
Yes, sir. Do you believe that a law firm with a member who is a state representative or state senator should be used as the solicitor for the Lycoming County Board of Election? If not, why not?
Are you saying the state representative is the solicitor, or he's a member of the law firm?
Well, the real answer is all I know is what's printed on the piece of paper. Do you believe that a law firm with a member who is a state rep or senator should use a solicitor? As written, it appears to say whether the firm should be.
I am very much against any kind of conflict of interest. I'm a member of the Big Brothers Big Sisters. And when the county votes on those monies, I recuse myself. So I'm very much against this, but let's clear something up. Our state senator is not, he is subcontracted by that law firm. He's subcontracted by the law firm. We don't deal with him directly. We deal with that law firm on county matters. Specifically, Mike Wiley and J. David Smith are the 2 attorneys that we utilize. And Brian Booth as the prison board attorney. We don't deal with the state senator. He's subcontracted by that law firm to do other work.
Understood. So everybody is clear, both in the audience and with you. I didn't draft the questions, nor did I have any input to the questions. So I say that not to disassociate myself, but just to say, at some point you're asking me for clarification.
Yes.
That I don't have, because what I have is what was provided to me. The whole point of having me here as a moderator was that I'm not involved.
Well, I wanted to clarify that.
I appreciate it.
And that's question number 6, right?
That was question number 6. That is correct.
All right, I'll write that down.
Okay. That's the point of giving you the numbers. So when we get to rebuttal phase, you can do that. Okay, we're moving on to question 7, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Sortman. With the large number of natural resources such as natural gas that we possess in Lycoming County, what are you going to do to promote these resources and attract more businesses to Lycoming County?
Again, I'll go back to Loyalside Township, what we did there. So we had a lot of different hearings on a lot of different well sites. Everyone was approved in Loyalside. I sat down with our other supervisors and we wrote about 19 items of conditions that made it safer for that drilling in Loyalside Township. I'm very impressed with the gas industry in following what our recommendations were. We had no issues with any of the conditions, and it made it safer for drilling. It brought a lot of money in at the beginning, and that money's dried up already. So I would continue to work with the gas industry as I did as Loyalside Township Supervisor to bring that industry into our county. It's definitely needed, it's here, and you can do it safely. I spent countless hours with a gentleman from DEP discussing the good and the bad, and the real true answer that I got from that should make everybody comfortable is if they drill by the rules put in place, it's never going to be harmful. It's when they try to cheat. But we have DEP involved to make sure they don't cheat. So as long as we're following the rules, it's a great industry, and we need to make sure we're open to them being in our community. We were extremely open to them being in Loyalside Township. I would treat them the same way as a county commissioner.
Mr. Wellsruff, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
With the large number of natural resources such as natural gas that we possess in Lycoming County, what are you going to do to promote these resources and attract more businesses to Lycoming County?
I think it's important that we don't over-regulate them. Yeah, we have DEP looking over them, but sometimes we need to look at what is the goal, what is the mission statement, what are the people that are overlooking them doing. Capping off and what the Democrats have done to our gas industry has actually hurt us. We were flush with cash. We were bringing in a wonderful new culture to our area that we were learning from. It increased our population. Democrats took over and it just plummeted. So I think it's important that we get ourselves back on the right track, because I'm sorry, but to go against the gas industry, and it's important that we keep our natural resources safe and the beauty that we have in the county. Accidents do happen, and we need to make sure that those industries atone for cleaning up and fixing it. And it's important that they're not cheating. But we also can't go so far as that we're actually anti-business and we're stifling ourselves from our future and what we can do to succeed.
Thank you. Mr. Messer, do you need a question again?
Yes, please.
Happy to do so. With the large number of natural resources such as natural gas that we possess in Lycoming County, what are you going to do to promote these resources and attract more businesses to Lycoming County?
Pennsylvania is the #2 state in natural gas next to Texas. It was booming until we got a Democratic governor in here and puts restrictions on it. There's enough gas in the state of Pennsylvania to take care of Europe for the next 30 years. We have so much underneath us that we can tap into. Commissioners don't set those regulations. The state sets those regulations. They put the land back. My father-in-law lives at the top of Cascade, and he was up there on Chapel Mountain Road. He's a big hunter, big environmentalist, and he's met with those gentlemen. They put the land back better than what it was when they first came, when they did their wells. It brings money to our area. They move here, brings money here. Act 13. Currently, we have $24 million in our Act 13 fund. A lot of the counties across the state don't have that balance. We do, because this Board of Commissioners has been very conservative making sure what we vote out is for generational projects to help individuals throughout our county. Those monies go to different projects. We need to make sure that money continues to come in here, so we can continue to load out those Act 13 monies for residents of our county. Thank you.
Mr. Payton, I'm going to read you the question anyway, whether you want it or not, just as everybody else asks. With the large number of natural resources such as natural gas that we possess in Lycoming County, what are you going to do to promote these resources and attract more businesses to Lycoming County?
Going off of what Mr. Welteroth said about regulation, I don't think we should handcuff these industries and these businesses with regulations. And they should be free to make decisions on their own, and if called upon at a county level, we should be supportive and act efficiently.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will move on now to question 8. And we're now starting with you, Mr. Welteroth. Unless I've screwed up my work. We're starting with you anyway, Mr. Welteroth. The media likes to use the term democracy when referring to government in America. However, America was founded as a representative republic. What are your thoughts on the difference between a representative republic versus a democracy?
Well, I think the media a lot of times forgets what our foundation was and what we came from. There was a reason behind that. And when we forget our history, we're doomed to repeat it. My biggest fear is, especially with the media these days, is that we're starting to forget. And when we forget, it's when we have a lot of problems. When we start losing our rights, it's when we start losing the representation that our forefathers put in place, which they knew would be a successful government, which has been a very successful government thus far for a long time. So I think it's important, and I always hear Tom Adams talk about this, that we don't teach this enough in school, and I would absolutely agree with him. We don't teach this enough in school, and I don't necessarily think that people in society really understand the difference sometimes. But the flaw of that is, it's actually the wolves that are in sheep clothing that are trying to paint it as something that it's not. Thank you.
Mr. Webster, your thoughts on the difference between a representative republic and a democracy?
Well, the republic is the people. It's the people. It's each one of you. Democracy is our federal government, what we have. It's our God-given rights that are in the Constitution. That seems to be thrown out the window anymore. The civics aren't even taught in schools anymore. We have a generation that wants to throw the history book away and tear down statues. They want reparations for their ancestors. That's as high as $20 million per person. Who's going to pay for that? I don't think the federal government can put that amount of money. So it comes down to where what Ronald Reagan says, we're one generation with distinction. The freedom's extinct. Yesterday we were at the cemetery with our little leaguers and we're putting the flags in the veterans' graves. And we stood there and just, in awe, just at Twin Hills, 1,900 veterans out of 19,000, 10% down in Twin Hills. Go by on the way home tonight, you see the flags. Each one of those lives sacrificed for us. We have a generation today that don't care. And I'm not just saying a younger generation, I'm talking about older people. It's a mixture of people that are just throwing our democracy out the window and they want socialism. They think there's something better out there. Entitlements. You have to work hard. Our ancestors came to this country and worked for what they got. They worked hard to make it better for the next generation. And we're doing that, each one of us.
Mr. Payne?
As a democracy, the people elect their elected officials, and as elected officials, we should represent people as a whole with their interests in mind.
Mr. Sorkin.
I may not understand the question 100%, but my take on it is that democracy is the government telling us how to live. The republic is us telling the government how we want them to represent us. So one thing I would say as your next elected county commissioner, I will listen to the residents of Lycoming County and drive forward the county with their ideas in mind, not me telling you how to live your life.
Thank you. We're going to move to question 9 now. Mr. Metzger, we're back to you. And we're going to jump from political theory to the an exceptionally concrete question. What are your plans or ideas for getting an airline into the airport?
How do you sum up 45 years in 2 minutes? This started with the deregulation of the airlines in the rural communities in 1978. And it has gone downhill since. Our EAS service was given away, our emergency air service was given away in 2012. Commissioner Uncle serves in the audience tonight. He reassured you that we have sat with the authority and tried to find out what was going on here. The problem is it's a perfect storm. You have a shortage of pilots. Pilots retired because they had to get COVID shots. A lot of them didn't want to get COVID shots, so they retired, so that caused a shortage of pilots. You have an increase in fuel costs. So they have 250 planes parked in the desert out in Arizona that are putting more people on the bigger planes because they have less pilots and it's cheaper to fly that way. So that's another issue. State colleges had 2 airlines pull out, so it's hitting all the airlines, all the rural airlines across the country. And how do we tackle this? We continue to meet with the authority. As a commissioner, the only thing we can do is appoint the authority members. It's an authority. We have no power over them. We have power over the purse. And since I've been a commissioner, the only thing I've funded has been the tower. And they return those monies back twice through COVID monies. They're basically existing right now off their COVID monies. That's how they're paying things, and they have to spend them or they have to return them. So you see a lot of things going on. The federal government's pumping money into our airport. Do I believe we can have air service there? Yes. Do I believe we're going to have a major airline there? I don't see that in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Payton, how are we going to get an airline into the airport?
Well, the airport is a valuable asset of this county, and if elected, I would do everything in my power to get an airline to make that airport a home, working with the authority, with the board, and working with experts in the field to figure out the most feasible way to do that and make it efficient and effective.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sorkin.
Well, I don't want to negatively affect any votes, but I think the first thing you got to do is look at the authority and make sure it's the right people. I believe 100% that the current commissioners have put in place the people they felt could do the job. And I think they were all shocked, as I was a few weeks ago, to learn that our airport authority lost federal monies without even sharing that with the commissioner's office. So I think that something's got to be looked at. I think our current commissioner base is looking at that. Again, it may be, a lot of people don't like people that are already connected to government, but I do have a good rapport with G.T. Thompson, who I would reach out to immediately and work on getting that money back. That's the first step, because without that federal money, even the Democrat commissioner, Mr. Rick Maravito, felt that if you don't have government funding, you won't have a small airport. And I have to agree with that comment. So we need to look at that. We need to get the federal funding back to an airline. But I would also agree with Commissioner Metzger that I don't know that it's going to happen anytime soon. I think this is a long process. But as Mr. Payton said, it is a huge asset for our community. We need it back because as I walk around with knocking on doors, that's a question I've heard everywhere, and everybody says I'd like to fly out of Williamsport rather than driving to Harrisburg. So it's something we definitely got to work on as the next set of commissioners.
Mr. Wellsruff.
Hold thy representatives accountable. Now, I will tell you, Commissioner Metzger had nothing to do with the situation that we're in right now with the airport. Many, many moons ago, I used to go to all the commissioners' meetings, and I remember when the pitch was, if you build it, they will come. Give us $3 million, and those airlines are gonna come. And you know what I did? I got out my phone, and I looked up, and I said, oh, okay, that's the airport that they're citing. Oh, next month, two of the three airlines are actually leaving came in that wonderful field of dreams vision that they had. I have no problem with the airport securing dollars from the federal government, the state government, or whatever grants or endowments or anyone wants to donate to them. But I'll tell you what won't happen. Unless there's a signed contract where that air service is going to come to Lycoming County, a county tax dollar won't go to it. I will vote no each and every time. I never understood, I think it's more common sense when it comes to making these decisions. We had United Airways that asked the federal government to pull out of Williamsport. And then when we've had someone else that showed interest, what did we do? We said, okay, that person is showing interest. We don't really want you. We want the guys that were ungrateful and try to throw us under the bus and leave us high and dry. Where is the common sense? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask for common sense, and I'm going to hold the people that are in there accountable to do their job. If not, we find someone else. That's how we run a business. That's how we run that airport.
Sam, if you can break after the 10th question, we'll have a 15-minute break, and we'll return to finish the debate and then open up for the rebuttal.
That's amazing that you read my mind. Over the question and answered the question. Let's try it again. No, I want to choose you. Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Payne. Question 10. Given the fact that Lycoming County is experiencing a steady, if not increasing number of homeless citizens because of current economic downturn, what is your plan if elected to address this situation, particularly when faced with the unwelcome and simultaneous influx of illegal aliens that may likely further burden local services? So your plan to deal with the homeless and illegal aliens.
Well, to combat that, we need to have jobs in this county for them to work. And going back to what I said earlier about regulation, deregulating businesses and leaving them free to operate without being handcuffed at the local county level gives the opportunity for more jobs and more growth in this county.
Mr. Swartman, given the fact that Lycoming County is experiencing a steady, if not increasing number of homeless citizens because of the current economic downturn, what is your plan if elected to address this situation, particularly when faced with an unwelcome and simultaneous influx of illegal aliens that may likely further burden local services and revenues?
Well, I think you started with one of our previous questions about the illegal aliens even coming to Lycoming County. You stop that before they get here. And then that helps our residents be able to use the services that are here and available to them, which will eliminate the lack of services and stop people from being homeless. As I drive down East 3rd Street, and it's actually a friend of mine's property, but there's a tent set up in it. I think unfortunately, and it may not be a popular answer, but the police need to go and they need to remove that person from that property and get them to the proper services. If we can rehabilitate the people with the services that are already available like Lycoming County, we can fix the problem as a community.
Mr. Welford, do you need the question again?
I don't.
All right.
You know, I advocate against having a loser's attitude. However, what we need to realize is the fact is until the federal government and the Democrats that are allowing them to violate the law and just rewrite the way that we actually are supposed to immigrate to America legally, it's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be a tough uphill fight. Mr. Sortman's right. Our resources are actually under attack. Very often, for people that I supervise when they fall in hard times, I will go on their behalf because they're embarrassed. to go to the food bank and I will get them food and I will bring it to them. One of the questions I posed to them is I said, do you actually track how many legal citizens are coming here and getting food and getting the resources? And they told me no. And I said, but how many do you think? And they said, there's a lot. That's something that most of us actually aren't even focused on, is the idea that they're taking away the services for actual legal citizens that are here, that it's there for. And unfortunately, you know, when you actually have great services, whether it's social work, mental health, dealing with the homeless, everyone sees that, and they flock here because they want those great services. It's important that while we're in that transition period of righting the wrong and turning that ship, that we turn to our hearts. We turn to what God told us to do and make sure that we are opening up our doors and opening up our hearts and our resources for the people of Lycoming County that truly need it. Sometimes there's a people with a lot of pride, and they won't tell you that they need help. Please be vigilant, and please look out for every citizen in Lycoming County until we can fix it.
Mr. Metzger.
Lycoming County is one of the richest counties with human resources agencies that help for all kinds of reasons. And I know that because I tapped into many of those agencies for 32 years to get people help. We do have a hidden homeless situation in Lycoming County. We don't know how many. We have people that sleep on couches. They call couch jumpers, couch hoppers, surfers. It's their name. We get the names for them. The thing is, getting those people, you know, we have STEP. The commissioners work very closely with STEP. We work with American Rescue Workers. We work with these agencies. These are unsung heroes in our community. I went to an event last week at the airport. Many of those individuals were honored down at the airport. They do the work behind the scenes, you know, the food. When you have so many food kitchens in the area, people are in need. It's decided the Economic Times. It costs $10,300 more to maintain the same style of living as it did 2 years ago. That's because of the federal government and the state government. It has a trickle-down effect. So you can imagine someone who's making $20,000 to $30,000, how they're surviving. They're not. So we need it. We need to extend the help. We need to get them the help. And we do so by utilizing the agencies in the area, working closely together with them as a partnership.
Thank you, sir. We're going to take a 15-minute break now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
15-minute break, and then we will resume with the last question, rebuttal, and final remarks. Thank you.
Okay, we were, but we could change our plans, it's okay. I'm sure, no, because I'm sure that, Tom, he likes being here.
Oh, gotcha.
See, I have him in my car too. Better.
not county stage, but on the larger stage of our federal government. It's concerning to me, it's absolutely concerning to me. I think it's important that we remember who we are, remember how we were raised, remember our morals, and remember our values. Remember that it all started in the image of one person. And too often, I think we forget about that. I will not forget about that. I may be fiery, but I will never make a decision in haste. I will never make a knee-jerk reaction. I will sit back. I will come to my conviction slowly. But once I come to that conviction, I will be firm with it. And it will be done under thoughtful prayer each and every time. Because I think that's what everyone wants to see out of me in the way that I was raised, the way I was brought up, and the way that we were taught.
Mr. Metzger.
Every one of us, including me, have fallen short of the glory of God. But we'll make mistakes. There's nothing more important to me than my faith. And anyone who knows that is who I am. I've grown deeper in my faith as I've got older, especially in the last several years. Every morning when I get up, I fall on my knees. And I pray that God leads me in my job, and with my family, and with my decisions. I do the prayer that was referenced here for the commission. I take about a half hour, 45 minutes to prepare that. And a lot of times I'll do that at home at night before, spend about 45 minutes of reflection, and try to focus on unity, God's love, and what He wants for our world to be done through Him. That's how I'm governed. I've been criticized at times. I stand on my morals, stand on my values. I attend 2 churches, my wife's church, and I go to later service. Get on the highway and go to that service. And I don't say that just for credit. That's who I am. Tonight, we do my last Bible study fellowship group with the guys up at Pine Street. I've done that for 30 years. Those are special relationships. And you have that relationship with God in order to do anything positive in this life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payton.
Like Mr. Thornton, I'm also born and raised Catholic, member of St. Anne's Church. And going forward in his political career and campaign, I plan to use God as a guide in my decision-making process and really look to Him when times get tough or decisions might be hard ones to make, because speaking with Him, He'll guide you in the right direction.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, for our final surprise bonus question, which I guess, Mr. Welteroth, you're going to start us off on. Lycoming County has been a major supporter of 6 county libraries for decades. Are you in favor of this continued support with reasonable increases in the future?
I am. They're an establishment in our community as a gathering place for everyone that we represent. It's important that we have those libraries because they help preserve a history. You know, a lot of times we're losing libraries. I think my high school actually at one point got rid of their library. And I was extremely disappointed in that. There's a lot of rich history tradition with them, and there's also the knowledge that you can continue to take. And it's important because not everything you can find in online. I know you're not supposed to do this, but I know a lot of us back in the day when we were going through our educations, we actually wrote notes, little footnotes on those books. And one thing I always appreciated was going back through an old book and seeing a footnote, maybe from even my friend's sister that was 10 years older than us, and trying to keep the take on what they were looking at. That's the type of neat traditional stuff that we have with our libraries that hopefully we can continue. It's important that we continue to educate ourselves because with no books, I just liken back to what we've seen in other countries where horrible acts have been committed when we forget and we're not educated anymore.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Metzger.
The libraries are a very important part. We're blessed to have a county library system unlike Lee County. And it's 6 library system in our county. It helps often the less fortunate people that can't afford to buy books on Amazon, and it provides other services for the seniors. Council Library just did a beautiful renovation to their library, which was very needed. And I want to give the ribbon cutting for that. It's beautiful what they've done there. I know the other libraries, many of them do need help, but the county's been very generous. We give $1.3 million of taxpayers' money to the library. Probably our largest amount that we give out, and it goes to those 6 libraries. So it's important that we continue to do so. At the same time, we have to be careful what we give as increases, because each year those increases are compounded. And so we did reject one time they came to us for $63,000 additional dollars, and that we did reject that, and because we've been compounded annually. But at the same time, we provided them the funding they needed. We talked to them about the funding on different projects, trying to assist them on different projects, and as Commissioner, I'll continue to support the library system. I think it's very important.
Thank you, Mr. Payne.
I would plan to continue supporting the library. They're a value to the community and also a service to the community. So it's important for one, education, and with that, continued support.
Mr. Sorkin.
Yes, I would continue with the library. I believe it was just a few weeks back where the commissioners, the current commissioner group honored the Library Association here in Lycoming County. It was great to see them do that and recognize the value of the libraries. So I would continue to follow what the previous commissioners have done and support the library system of Lycoming County.
Thank you, gentlemen. So that concludes the questions. Before we move to your closing statements, there's an opportunity for you at this point to offer a rebuttal to anything that's been said by one of your competitors. I just ask if you want to do that, just raise your hand so I can recognize you in turn, and we're not talking over each other. If you choose to rebut something, you've got 1 minute for each one. Mr. Schwartz.
I wouldn't say it's really a rebuttal against anybody on the panel tonight, but I would just like to go back to question number 6 and clarify that was the question in regards to the solicitor. I would say I took that as the individual lawyer, so my comment would be the individual lawyer should never be the solicitor if he's also a senator, congressman, or representative in any way. But the law firm itself, I would agree, could represent you properly as a solicitor, even though there may be another attorney in the office who has an elected office. And then the other one would be on number 11, I'm just going to go back to as well, with the comment about God and living that life. I go to sleep every night with the decisions I make at Lostock Township, and I'm confident that God directed me in the right direction.
Anyone else that wishes to rebut or clarify?
Is it 1 minute for each question, or all together? I'm going to be like the micro machine man here. If it's just 1 minute.
How many minutes are you asking for? Let's start there.
I'll keep
With
it short as
negotiation.
Question number 2. I would say, can we trust the feds when they've lied to us in the past? I think it's important that we do more to make sure that the feds are actually telling us the truth, because I've seen the latter at times. Question number 7 with the resources. You know, I like how Mr. Sortman, he's got the electric cars and he's got the solar panels. It's a great idea. The only issue that I take with it is it's important that we take the lithium that's out of our ground right here and we make it where American lithium's going into those batteries for the cars and to store the energy from those solar panels. It's a great idea because it does save taxpayer money, but we can't take those dollars and send them over to China. 11, You know, we talked about prayer. I think it's also important that we not only pray, that we actually participate through prayerful actions. So once again, I'm gonna give a pitch for Wreaths Across America. It's a great cause, and we need to make sure that we financially donate to it, and also that physically we get out there and honor our veterans and honor the cause, because that's truly what God has called us to do. And 12, funding is tight for the libraries, but we need to fight. We need to motivate our community more to raise the value of our libraries and raise the funding. We should never stop reaching and striving for the best that we can have. We need to fight to the bitter end, and we need to teach the children, the generations that are coming under us, to actually take up that torch and go further than we did the time before. That is what America is all about. That's what I want to see in Lycoming County. 2 minutes? Was that 2 minutes?
I lost you.
Okay.
I wait for them to bang on the table. That's how I can. Gentlemen, comments from either one of you in rebuttal, or we'll move on to closing.
I have one regarding the airport.
Please, sir.
Okay, so a year ago, I went to Washington, I was with Congressman User, and he said, name the two biggest issues in Lycoming County, please. I said, the levee system and the airport. He has introduced 2 bills to bring back the NEAS service. I've been in regular conversations with Congressman User about this. Congressman Keller is working on it, we work closely with him. We've been in hearings regarding the regional air service statewide for all airports. We've sat with different local officials on that. We had Senator Casey write us a letter of support. Senator Toomey refused to raise one. I called out his rep and said, how can he not raise a letter of support? And he did not do so. But I want to add that our airport is 500,000 people it serves, 9 universities, major industries in this area, international organizations such as Little League. And I'll add that the previous terminal, even though I wasn't involved in that, they spent $3 million of your Act 13 money to leverage $17 million that was brought in statewide from federal officials. So that $3 million leveraged $17 million by the previous commissioners.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kane, do you have any rebuttal? All right, then we're going to move to closing statements, and we'll start at this end of the panel and move backwards. Mr. Waldrop.
I would like to thank everyone for coming out.
I'm sorry, I apologize. You have three minutes.
3 minutes, great.
3 minutes.
You'll regret that. I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. It's important that you guys have shown what my messaging is all about, because it's not just Adam Welteroth that's going to get it done. And I knew that. That's why a year ago, when I knew I was going to run, I went around to hundreds of people like you and I asked you, what did you want to see? And then what I famously tell people, I did something no politicians do. I stopped talking, I opened up my ears, and I wrote everything down. That's how we came up with our strategic plan, not my strategic plan. It's important that it's not empty rhetoric. It's important that we hold our elected politicians accountable to that strategic plan. It's important that we have dates to make those motions. It's important that we fight. I'm doing this not only for my family, but for your families. Doing this for the next generation of the future. And I think it's important that any of us, whether we make commissioner or not, the ones that a panel of commissioners 20 years down the road says, why did they rope us into such a horrible decision? I think it's important that every decision that's made is very thought out and it's planning for the future. We can't make decisions based on the dollar to fix and band-aid what we have now. We need to make those decisions for the future. We need to build for the test of time. That is what I'll be doing if you elect me commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Swart.
I too would just like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know it's hard to get away and invest the time. Most of the people who come out to vote don't invest the time to learn who the candidates are. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you and let you know who I am. Again, I'm a 14-year of experience from Lowestoft Township. That's what I'll bring to you as a county commissioner. The experience to save money, to physically be responsible with your money. I had a guy at the Lycoming County Republican Committee ask me to expand upon me lowering taxes and giving the money back to the taxpayers. I said, there's nothing to expand upon, it's not my money as an elected official. I think more of us need to think that way, and I will think that way with your money every day. As well as bringing, my business background experience that will help me manage it, the financial side, and manage the employee side. So I've managed employees in the past, I understand how to do that and keep them happy, and I will continue to work with the staff of Lycoming County to do the same thing. I'm the experienced candidate that can hit the ground running. I don't think it's time right now to have on-the-job training. It's time right now to continue moving forward. We have a lot of issues in the county, including our drug problem that I work with our DA and our sheriff's office on, the airport situation. There's just many things that are issues that are outstanding that I will continue to work as quickly as possible on, and I feel that I'm the best candidate for that. When I'm elected as your next commissioner, I will work with all the county officials. I will work with the residents, as I said before. You're the taxpayers. I need to know what you want and what needs to happen, and I will work with you on that. I will continue to work with the drug task force and the DA on the drug problems. Lastly, I'm your pro-life candidate. I'm your very conservative candidate. I have some ideas for the airport. Maybe we get the Army or the Air Force National Guard to actually be here regularly, that they put themselves here. That will give us some federal funding to go along with it. So help relieve from the taxpayers' money. So I appreciate being here tonight, and I humbly ask for your vote on May 16th.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Payne.
Going back to my opening statements, I don't shy away from the topic of experience, and I plan to educate myself in issues pertaining to this county, and will do my duty to represent with transparency. I'm hopeful for our community, and in the meantime, it is my generation that will inherit the previous generation's struggles, and my generation that will be tasked with fixing it. Fixing issues at a county level with the help of the citizens, a transparent dialogue, and an open door is key to effective communication and governing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Metzger.
I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight. I'd like to thank the Lycoming County Patriots for hosting this event. And this year's county commissioner is critical. It comes down to three things: experience, leadership, and achievement. Our federal and state government is out of control with their spending. It's cracking at its foundations. Government does not have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem. In Lycoming County, we have been fiscally sound. Currently, we have $20 million in our fund balance. We have $24 million in our Act 13 money, and we have $20 million of our monies. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens by great planning, by a team effort for all our department heads, and working together as a team to get things done. Ego stands for edging God out. I don't have the ego. I do things selflessly, and that's what I plan on doing. I have the business experience. I have the experience in our county government. Leadership is about service to others, not being served by others. I spent the last 35 years of my life in service, 17 years as a Little League president. A lot of people said I was out of my mind for doing it that long, but I did it because of the kids. My parents taught me at a young age to give back to the community, because when you give back, you make the community all much better and you make it whole. As chairman for the past 3 years, I've led the team with my colleagues to complete 17 bridges by the end of 2023. We ended Charwell building lease. We co-located a site for the coroner's office. We developed the Timber Run Industrial Park. We started the Housing Initiatives Program, which will bring additional housing to the county, 2 million this year, 2 million last year, new housing. We developed a generational impact plan for ARPA monies. We acquired land for the land conversion to allow the county to develop the land around the golf course for future housing. We've updated policies that haven't been updated since 1999. We've updated a compensation policy that hasn't been addressed since 1988. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens by being here all day long, planning, working together as a team. And that's just what I've done as a chairman, try to bring leaders together. That's what I did as a Little League president in my service, and I try to get people to work together. It's about us doing it as a team. Experience, leadership, and achievement. I was elected 4 years ago to get things done, and that's exactly what we've accomplished. There's a lot more to do. I humbly ask for your vote on Tuesday, May 16th, so I continue to work for each one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, all of you. That concludes the debate. Can we get a round of applause?
I would like to make an announcement, Greg Staff, who we all know is our new legal guy that just comes with a wealth of information. He's on vacation. However, I'm fairly sure he was watching this evening. He was here in spirit, I can tell you, and I'm fairly sure we're going to get an earful at the end. The folks from the various news media organizations, would you kindly raise your hands and then identify yourselves, please? Okay, could you stand up? Yeah.
Sure, I'm Carrie Pauling with NorthcentralPa.com.
You're NorthcentralPA.com,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
All right.
Todd Bartley, SouthWaysport.com.
Todd Bartley, SouthWaysport.com. Anyone else from
News Talk, Williamsport.
News Talk? Okay. You get that straight?
I
Okay.
got that straight.
All right, yes. Mark Ryan, yes. Williamsport Sun Gazette. Anyone else? Okay, I want to thank Tom and Lori Butler for recording this, and I want to, Rick's going to take over from here, but I want to say thank you to you gentlemen, but even more so, each and every one of you. You know, it does my heart good to know that you cared enough to take your Monday night out here and listen to what these gentlemen had to say. So God bless each and every one of you. Thank you. Rick?
Thank you very much.